Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online episode review. This one's going to be for Season 1, Episode 19, the Lugru Corridor. And yeah, pretty good episode overall, I have to say. We are basically last episode on the Volume 3 DVD set, and one of the last episodes in the Volume 3 light novel. So interesting here that this is kind of placed as the kind of mid-season almost finale of the second arc of the anime, and it works a little bit in that sense, definitely. Though I probably would say the mid-season point is definitely the basically next episode, basically. But anyway, as I said, pretty good episode. Just some clear kind of obvious moments as to why this is a good episode. You get a really nice fight scene with Kirito and Leafa. You get some really nice moments from Kirito kind of showing to Leafa, I suppose, this added intensity when it comes to the battles with him. That Kirito treats it as like a real world, that he doesn't see dying in this game as just, oh, try again. That because of experiences in SAO, obviously, he treats everything very seriously in this game. And you get another scene later on in the episode where the same sort of idea comes out. I'll get into those as we go through the video, but in addition to that, lots of progress made on the basically this kind of more game-focused plot this time around about Alfheim Online, about the relationships between the different races of fairies, finding out that the salamanders are organizing this like massive group to basically take out someone, and you don't find out until the very end of the episode what they're trying to take out. And then you find out about this potential alliance forming between the Katsi and the Sylphs. So you're kind of getting some of the more politics side of things, and also the world building about Alfheim Online here. About if the salamanders take out both the leader of the Sylphs and the Katsi at this meeting, they have such a huge advantage, and they can basically take out the World Tree on their own, and they'll be the most powerful race, and so on. So it's really interesting that overall, the story of Alpha Online fundamentally is Leafa helping Kirito to succeed in this very personal matter to him. And she's just loving being on this journey that's very different than everything else she's experienced in the game so far. But along the way, he decides to help her out with something that's important to her in the game. She's a sylph. She doesn't want this alliance to be broken, and she doesn't want they obviously don't want the salamanders to win. So he helps her in this situation. So kind of two sides of that. We also get a little bit more recon in the episode as well. So very very kind of solid episode. Some nice stuff happens. Not the most like amazing episode, I think, but it's just very very solid. So yeah, in terms of moments to really heavily talk about, I suppose early on in the episode, we get Kirito. They obviously foreshadowing here. Kirito is actually learning some of the special magic that the Spriggan class has, and we see him do the night vision spell, and you can give it to Leafa, and we just see a little bit of the magic in action, that the salamanders have this kind of tracking bat type thing. Leafa obviously can use healing magic, plus some kind of sneaking magic. Sorry, my nose is just really itchy. Yeah, it's just not nice foreshadowing early on in the episode that she's like, oh, there's also some spells that are like 20 words long. You have to say them with meaning. You can't just say the words and memorize them like that. You really have to know what they mean for the spells to work properly. And Kirito's just like, oh, I'll stick to fighting, but he actually does learn them, which I quite like. And yeah, this is all just leading. They're in the Lugru Corridor, of course, and then as they're crossing the bridge, they get attacked by this very carefully formed group of salamanders. And the fight that happens here is actually really interesting, just because it's very different to like any fight that took place in Sword Art Online, in that there was a lot of strategy to it in a more RPG sense, in that having magic in the game allows this sort of a strategy, that they were clearly aware that no one or two people could stand up to Kirito on their own. So they had this group of guys with giant shields basically out front to tank all of Kirito's hits. And then when he came in, they have the kind of long-range magic users at the back to heal the defensive guys, and also people to fire really powerful magic attacks at Kirito. And so it was this kind of perfect counterbalance to Kirito, who on his own, like, basically just is one of the best players in the game, but up against such a kind of well-formed kind of group tactics, he really struggles here. And as he says at the end of the episode, if Leafa wasn't there to support him, be his backup, he definitely would have lost this fight. And so you see what having magic in the game adds, and it's definitely interesting. I still do prefer overall just the Sword Art Online style, where it is just sword fights, and you don't have the, I suppose, gimmick of magic to be able to, like, instantly heal. It's a skill that everyone has and stuff like that. But it's still nice for, like, this arc and stuff like that. So yeah, you get just some really kind of interesting moments in the fight as well, just with regards to Leafa seeing in Kirito for the first time, I think, the intensity that he has when he's fighting. That he is rushing to get to the World Tree to save Asuna. She doesn't know yet that it is Asuna, and she doesn't really know yet just who this person that he's trying to find is and what exactly that person means to Kirito. Just that she wants to help him, and when he charges in, just the scream charges in, even his opponents are shocked by his kind of tactics, his kind of desperate tactics at the end, that he would walk up to their shields and try and rip their kind of formation apart by the hand, basically just using his hands, putting his sword in there, trying to pry it apart. And it basically would have worked if they didn't have the backup from all of the mages, the salamanders. And of course, Leafa healing him the whole time. And it all just kind of leads up to that moment where Yui kind of inspires Leafa to basically put all of your magic into guarding Kirito. He has to do it, and then she tells, like, Kirito to do that thing, and he does it. And what it is he uses his basically high-level illusion magic, and he transforms into a monster from the game. And in this case, we get basically Kirito transforming into the Gleam Eyes, which is probably the most well-remembered fight from Sword Art Online, and he basically transforms into that and just wrecks this whole group except one, which he keeps alive to interrogate it. It was just a really unexpected moment, and that, like, okay, he has illusion magic, he's going to use it in this kind of desperate moment, but you don't really expect, like, him to be the sort of character to do the whole monster thing. But they kind of hint at it, that he is this kind of almost berserk swordsman at times, that as he says, he kind of loses track of himself sometimes in the middle of a fight, and this is a good example of that. But at the same time, it isn't anything bad, even though it kind of looks like it's this kind of evil skill. The second he exits from it and the fight's over, he's just like, wow, that was really cool, that was really fun getting to eat all those people and stuff like that. That he still is aware that it's a game, even though it's, like, fairly serious to him. And it was just very interesting to see him so kind of happy and jovial after such a kind of intense fight otherwise. Like, Leafa was kind of taken aback by just the intensity of this fight, and he just walks up and he's just like, wow, that was great. And then Yui's just like, wow, Daddy, that was great. It was just a kind of really fun scene in that sense. And then especially when, like, Leafa's threatening the guy doesn't work to get the information out of him, and Kirito just comes up and he's just like, see all this stuff I got from beating your friends? It could be yours. And then they make the deal, and then the girls are just like, oh, dude, do they even know we're here anymore? It was just a nice little moment of humor. It obviously leads up to they get to the town of Lugru, and Leafa logs out, finds out the information from Recon that Sigurd has actually betrayed the Sylphs and is working as a spy for the Salamanders, and that's why a group was basically sent out to kill Leafa and Kirito in response to basically what happened in episode 2, Leafa and Kirito basically taking out that group of strong salamanders early on in the series. But also the main group is going out to take out this meeting that's going to be this big alliance between the Sylph and the Catsi. So you're going to get, as I said, more of the politics here, and the fact that Recon has been kind of doing some undercover work. Like, as much as he's been kind of like, oh, Lifa left the group, he also has been a little bit suspicious of Sigurd and the rest of their group, and while he stuck around, he's kind of investigated them, and even though he got caught, he still managed to get the information to Lifa to kind of help her. You just see that this is an important thing for her. And obviously, let's not forget, Lifa is Sugaha. She's, in the grand scheme of things, still fairly new to these virtual world games, but she cares about Alfheim Online. She cares about the Sylph and the situation that she has in the game, and doesn't want the Sylph to be a lower ranked kind of class to the Salamanders, and it's important to her, and she understands that Kirito has this really personal goal that he needs to attend to quickly, because you can see how intent he is on doing this. And when she comes back, she's kind of very much like, I can't ask you to do this because there's other things that are so more important. I wouldn't blame you if you decided to kill me and join up with the Salamanders once they become really powerful and take on the World Tree with them. And after this, I think Kirito delivers what I consider to be a very character-defining line for what this series overall, Sword Art Online, represents, and especially him as a character, what he kind of represents, and I suppose in general what the theme of Sword Art Online and just this whole series is about. I'll actually read it from the book here. When she says, basically, I wouldn't blame you if you killed me, he says, anything goes, it's just a game. Kill what you want, take what you want. I've seen enough people who you think... I've seen enough people who think that way to last a lifetime. In a way, it's true. I used to think that way myself, but it's not. There are things that you have to protect and uphold because it's a virtual world, even if it makes you look stupid. I learned that from someone very important to me. And then he says, it might seem like a paradox, but I don't think you can fully isolate the player from the role-playing... Isolate the player from the role-playing in this MMO thing. If you let your inner greed run wild in this world, that will come back to haunt haunt your real-life personality. The player and the character are one and the same. I like you, Lifa. I want to be your friend. I would never cut down someone I liked for personal gain, no matter the reason. A little bit more lengthy in the book than it is in the anime, but the same idea comes across. That to him, he feels that if he was to do this villainous thing, even though it would probably help his ultimate goal in the game, that would actually affect him in real life. And so he's going to treat the way he plays the game just like it would be in real life. So Lifa's his friend. He's not going to try and harm her at all, even if it helps him amazingly well. And no matter the reason, he's not going to do that. And he says, there are things you have to protect and uphold because it's a virtual world. And it's just a very interesting approach to just his thoughts on the game, that his view on basically those players who, even though they're aware that it is a lot more real than just a random game, he really thinks that if you play that villainous type of character in the game, it does have an impact on your real life, and it kind of can change you. Which links into obviously stuff that happens like in SAO 2 with certain characters from SAO who have a grudge against Kirito in real life and stuff like that. But we'll get into that as we go on. But after that, basically, they're together. They're going to go and basically save this meeting, stop the Salamanders, and save the alliance between the Catsi and the Sylphs. And so they're obviously really far behind. So Kirito just grabs Lifa and runs through a basically maze of monsters to get there. And that's basically where we end, with just them running out of basically Lugru to get to the meeting at what did they say, Butterfly Pass or something like that. So we do get to see Alicia, what's her name again actually? It's like Alicia, Liu, and Sakuya, who are the leaders of the Katsi and the Sylphs. Just briefly in the episode, that their meeting is just about to take place and the salamanders are on their way. So it creates a little bit of intensity. Of course, it's not as intense as just, we need to find Asuna now. That's the important thing. And it's not as, I suppose, emotional as this whole issue that's very much bubbling to the surface of when are the two of them going to realize that, like, when's Kirito going to realize Leafa is Suguha? When's Suguha going to realize that Kirito is Kazuto? Like, that's a big deal, but I do like the overall plot, that they have gone for something that's very much based around world building in ALO. But yeah, that's been the review for Lugru Corridor. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode and my review. Probably won't be able to get another Sword Art Online review out this week, just because I want to cover Comic-Con and some other stuff pretty well for my channel. But I will hopefully get back to normal next week with a good few reviews of SAO. But other than that, that has been the review. Thanks for listening, and bye.